President Barron, the current president, first of all, I have enormous respect for him. And I think he is moving the university forward. Not perfect by any means, neither am I, and he who has not sinned cast the first stone. I am upset that he has taken a position of not supporting the state being included in the state's right to know law, and they push back on that in the audit. But I give him enormous credit for his honesty, which is more than I got from former President Erickson, who lied to me in the hallway that you took to walk into this building by telling me that he actually supported Penn State being in the state's right to know law. Lied to me the whole, you go out this hallway, you walk 100 yards, that's where he lied to me. Now, it was the 2011-12 session. I was a minority member, rank and file, so I thought, I'll go lie to this guy. And then went into leaders' offices of the House and Senate R&D, and then did everything he could to make sure that that legislation didn't pass. He lied to me. Now maybe you think, I'll just lie to one member, and he probably never factored in 6 years later I'd be the Auditor General auditing the university. But I don't care who you are, you shouldn't lie. I have a disagreement with President Barron on this issue, but he was honest about it. And in public life, I can deal with honest disagreements. And maybe we can find a middle ground that the legislature does their job of providing more funding for our state system of higher education. Maybe in exchange for that, we get them into the state's right to know law. That's what you can get with honest dialogue. That's not what I got with President Erickson.
So what is it you want Penn State to do, and are you comfortable that they'll move in the direction you think they should?
I think there should be a reevaluation of how the board operates. I think there should be a shrinking of the board. I think they should be under the state's right to know law, and I think the legislature should, in a sense, in exchange for that, provide them more funding. I think those four things would go a long way towards solving a lot of these issues. There's no perfect. There's no one. Sometimes people want what's the one magic wand solution. There is none. I think you have to slowly continue to try to get better over time, and I think those four things would help do that.
On the affordability issue,
and this is also, I'm sorry, one of the things that, the transparency and accountability in the board actions, it also plays into, because I know there's concerns about how they handled many of their decisions, whether it came to, Joe Paterno setting up the foundation, how they've handled some of the claims. Regardless of what any of us view about any of that stuff, I think having a better board structure and more openness would go a long way towards solving a lot of those concerns. Because even if you disagree, when you're operating in that cloud of secrecy, people sometimes will believe the worst. If you're open about it, at least we can have an honest disagreement sometimes. That's why I at least respect President Barron being open and honest about his position on the state's right to know law, as opposed to what we had under previous President Erickson.
What do you think is driving you made a recommendation for board changes. Yeah. What do you think is driving their decision not to make these changes that were follow a number of the recommendations that were made back in 12?
All right, I'm going to get into trouble here. I think it's political. I think it's political. I think these board appointments become plum seats for people. It allows politicians to hand these things out. It allows different people to serve on the board. It allows more clout for individuals. I think it's an ego boost for some. So if you have 12 members on the board, as opposed to 36, there's less plum appointments to hand out. By the way, again, it's not just Penn State, but this happens at all the state-related universities. But I just do know that when I've talked to people that have been on nonprofit and even public and large corporate boards, the bigger the board, the more dispersed the decision-making, the more some people begin to tune out the information. Or, as we found out today, not every board member even gets a copy of the audit. I guarantee if there was 11 board members, they'd all have a copy of the audit.